Buckle up, because this might be the biggest bombshell the NFL has seen in years. The Green Bay Packers are reportedly making a move for Micah Parsons. Yes, that Micah Parsons. The defensive wrecking ball. The walking sack nightmare. The guy who moves like a heat-seeking missile in cleats and somehow gets faster in the fourth quarter. And if the rumors are even half true, the Packers aren't just kicking the tires. They're pushing the chips in. All of them. We're talking full, go big or go home energy. And folks, this would be franchise-altering.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Because let's call it what it is. Micah Parsons isn't just a good defender. He's not even just great. He's a once-in-a-decade game-changer. The kind of player who doesn't just make your defense better, he redefines it. You drop him into a scheme and suddenly it doesn't matter who your corners are. Doesn't matter what your D-line rotation looks like. He covers everything. He's that kind of chaos engine. So now imagine that guy in Green Bay. Lambeau Field. Frozen tundra. Fans wrapped in cheeseheads and 2 layers of thermals. And barreling off the edge in sub-zero wind chill? Number 11. The human hurricane. Are you kidding? But before we get too deep into fantasy football land, let's break this down, because the whispers aren't just noise. This thing has legs. Serious legs. First of all, the number being floated? $45 million per year. Let that sink in. That's record-shattering money. Defensive players don't make that. Quarterbacks make that. That's Mahomes' territory. That's, we're rewriting the pay structure of football territory. And you know what? Micah Parsons is worth every penny. Just ask anyone who's tried to block him. The dude doesn't just collapse pockets. He crushes souls. Quarterbacks hear footsteps that aren't even there. Offensive coordinators lose sleep on Tuesday just thinking about where he's going to line up on Sunday. And the crazy part? He's still getting better. So yeah, if you're going to go all in, this is the guy to do it for. But now here's the juicy part, the trade package. It's not going to be cheap. This isn't one of those future considerations and a fourth-rounder deals. This is mortgage your future level. Rumor has it the Cowboys would need at least 2 first-round picks, maybe more. And possibly a wide receiver. The Packers might have to send someone from that shiny new WR room they've been polishing for the past couple seasons. Maybe Christian Watson. Maybe Romeo Dew. Maybe even a dark horse like Jaden Reed. Painful? Definitely. Necessary? If you want Parsons? Probably. Because this is the reality, transformative defensive players don't hit the market. Ever. The Cowboys would have to be crazy to even consider this. But here's where things get really spicy. Jerry Jones. King of never say never. As of now, word is he's not taking calls. Officially, anyway. But Jerry is a businessman. And if the right offer hits his desk, especially one that secures long-term draft capital and maybe a skill position player, you think he doesn't at least listen? This is the same guy who once traded his best corner because he liked a good story. You really think he's not intrigued by a blockbuster headline? And don't forget the Cowboys have their own financial puzzle. Dak's contract. CeeDee Lamb's next deal. They can't pay everybody. Somebody might have to be sacrificed at the altar of cap space. Now, let's talk about Green Bay. Because this isn't the Packers we've known for the last 15 years. This is a new era. Ed Policy is now in charge. And while he hasn't even had the chair warm for long, sources say this guy is not here to sit on his hands. He's forward-thinking, risk-tolerant, and most importantly, he's not married to the old Packer way of doing things. You know that we don't do splashy trades, vibe Green Bay's head forever? That might be dead. And honestly, it needs to be. Because the NFC is a war zone now. Philly stacked. Detroit surging. San Francisco? Terrifying. If the Packers want to be more than the fun young team, they need to make a statement. And Micah Parsons? He's not a statement. He's a billboard. You drop him into this young Packers defense, which is already oozing potential, and you instantly have a unit that can take over games. Rashawn Gary on one side, Micah on the other? That's edge rusher heaven. Quarterbacks won't know which direction the doom is coming from. And the impact goes deeper than sacks. Micah's presence makes everyone better. Your DBs get more aggressive because the ball's coming out faster. Your linebackers have more room to operate. Your defensive line rotations get easier. The offense gets more possessions. It's a ripple effect, and it starts with one player. But let's be real, this move is about more than football. It's about culture. The Packers have been sitting in this weird in-between state ever since Rodgers left. Jordan Love looks solid, maybe even really good. The offense is young and fun. But this team still lacks that anchor. That guy who walks into the building and says, "Follow me." Micah Parsons can be that. He brings swagger, fire, accountability. He hates losing. You ever seen him post-game after a bad night? He sounds like a guy who just lost a Super Bowl in July. That's the energy the Packers need. Someone to inject urgency into a roster that's still figuring out who it wants to be. And let's not forget the other layer, coaching. Matt LaFleur? Seat's not hot yet, but it's definitely warm. Brian Gutekunst? He's still riding the high of drafting Love, but if this team underachieves again, people are going to be asking questions. A move like this isn't just about boosting the defense, it's about boosting their futures. It says, we're not playing around anymore. It says, we're here to win now. Because that's the thing. The NFC isn't going to wait for you to figure it out. You've got a young quarterback on a rookie deal. Cap space. A restructured leadership group. The time is now to swing big. And Micah Parsons? He's the swing. This trade, if it happens, would send shockwaves through the league. It would change the identity of two franchises. It would signal the start of a brand new Green Bay dynasty, or the unraveling of a Dallas one. Either way, the NFL would never be the same. So what do you think? Is this a move the Packers have to make? Should they risk the future for a chance to dominate the present? Or is this just smoke? Another off-season fever dream that dies the second reality kicks in? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this one's got layers. And don't forget to subscribe, because if this trade does happen, oh, you better believe we'll be here to break down every chaotic detail. This is the kind of move that makes legends. And Green Bay? You're on the clock. First off, Micah is a locker room alpha. Not just a guy who yells on third down or flexes after a sack. He's the guy who sets the emotional temperature of an entire building. You walk into the room, and he's the one teammates look to. That doesn't happen because you're loud, it happens because you're respected. Now imagine that energy dropped into Green Bay's young, hungry, but still developing defense. We're talking a room filled with first-rounders who are still trying to figure out who leads and who follows. Quay Walker, Devon Wyatt, Eric Stokes, tons of talent, no clear vocal anchor. Micah? He walks in and that's over. It's not just about being talented. It's about being unquestionable. And the moment Micah shows up to camp rocking the green and gold, boom, instant gravity. He doesn't just demand accountability. He drags it out of you. Let's talk about something else the media's downplaying. Revenge. Yeah. I said it. Micah Parsons would play with an edge in Green Bay that we've never seen before. Because if this trade goes down, it won't just be a transaction. It'll be a statement. A message. You gave up on me? Watch what I do next. And players like Micah don't let things go. If Jerry Jones even flirts with this move and lets him walk away, best believe Micah's putting Dallas Cowboys on his hit list every single season. Think Reggie White levels of vengeance. Think Charles Woodson chip-on-the-shoulder energy. This wouldn't just be a career chapter. It would be a mission. Oh, and here's a spicy one. Jordan Love needs this. Yes, he's progressing. Yes, the chemistry with those young receivers is clicking. But every developing QB eventually hits a wall. Those stretches where the offense stalls, the pressure mounts, and the headlines start questioning if he's the guy. You know what helps a young quarterback sleep at night? An elite defense that ends drives early and gives him the ball back. Micah would flip the field. He'd shorten games. He'd give Love more reps, better field position, and fewer come-from-behind situations. That's real value for a young QB. It's not always about adding weapons on offense, It's about taking pressure off them completely. Aaron Rodgers didn't always get that luxury. Jordan Love could. And then there's legacy. This move isn't just about today. It's about reshaping Green Bay's identity for the next decade. Let's be real, the Packers have always been known as a quarterback-first franchise. Favre, Rodgers, Love's now wearing the crown. But what if Green Bay finally leaned into being a defense-first powerhouse? What if Lambeau Field became a place where opposing QBs feared the pass rush, not just the weather? We haven't seen that since Reggie White was terrorizing offensive lines in the 90s. And if you think that era didn't define the franchise's toughness for the next 20 years, you weren't paying attention. This is a culture-shifting move. You bring in Micah, and suddenly Green Bay's brand isn't just, we develop quarterbacks. It's, we hit. We finish. And let's not overlook the fan impact, because Lambeau needs a new hero. The departure of Rodgers left a void, not just on the field, but in the hearts of the fans. Say what you will about 12, but he was a lightning rod. The guy people wore on their backs. The guy they fought about in group chats. Since then, the excitement's been growing, yes, but still uncertain. You land Micah Parsons? You give the fans a star to rally around. A new face. A fresh jersey to buy. A defensive player who sells tickets? That's rare. But Micah's not just any defender, he's got a brand. Kids want to be him. Adults want him on their fantasy teams. Opponents want nothing to do with him. This is bigger than stats. It's star power. Now let's talk cap space. Because everyone's asking, can the Packers afford this? Not only can they afford it, they've been preparing for something like this. Go back and look at the recent restructures. The way they handled Bakhtiari's contract. The way they cleared out cap by letting veterans walk. This isn't accidental. This is chess. And when you're clearing millions while your quarterback's still on a rookie deal, you're gearing up for a splash. Now add in the fact that the Packers own their next 2 drafts. They've got the picks. They've got the money. They've got the infrastructure. All that's missing? The trigger pull. And honestly, the longer they wait, the more expensive Micah gets. Here's another point people are missing: NFC chess. This isn't just about what Micah does for you. It's about keeping him off teams like San Francisco, Philly, Detroit. Yeah, the same teams you'll have to beat to make a Super Bowl. You let a guy like Micah Parsons hit the open market? He's not coming to Green Bay on a friendly deal. He's going where the money is, or worse, where the revenge narrative is juiciest. If you have a chance to land him now, to own his prime years, you take it before your rivals do. This is a cold-blooded business move. And while we're on business, this changes Ed Policy's legacy before it even starts. He just took over from Mark Murphy. The seat's still warm. But you make this kind of trade early in your tenure? You're instantly a legend in Wisconsin. You don't just become the guy who replaced the guy. You become the guy who brought Micah Parsons to Lambeau. That's history-making. That's GM of the Year stuff. And if it works, you're setting the tone for a new Packers dynasty, not just a rebuild. Now one last thing that nobody's talking about, but everyone should. Micah is still young. You're not trading for a 29-year-old pass rusher on his last legs. You're trading for a 24-year-old defensive prodigy with Hall of Fame trajectory. He's still ascending. You're buying upside, not nostalgia. And by the time your current core matures, Love, Watson, Van Ness, Walker, he'll be right in the middle of his prime. This isn't a win-now rental. This is a long-term cornerstone. A foundational piece you can build around for the next 6 to 8 years. So what are we waiting for? Micah Parsons isn't just a football player. He's a movement. And Green Bay has a rare, golden, potentially era-defining chance to bring that movement north. The question isn't, should they do it? It's, how could they not? So now it's your turn. Drop a comment. Who should the Packers give up in the trade? Is Micah worth $45 million a year? And does this move finally make the Packers a top NFC threat again? Let's start with scheme versatility, because this is where people don't give Micah nearly enough credit. Most defenders? You get one flavor. Pass rush specialist. Run stopper. Coverage guy. You build your defense around their one elite trait and try to mask the rest. Micah Parsons? He's the buffet. He's the full course. Need someone to rush off the edge? Cool, he can beat your left tackle before your QB even finishes his dropback. Need someone to play off-ball linebacker and cover a tight end up the seam? Done. Need someone to spy a mobile QB like Jalen Hurts? He's done that. And unlike most guys who can do a little bit of everything, Parsons is elite at every role. Joe Barry's defense wouldn't just improve, it would mutate. Green Bay has been running this bend-don't-break style that's often felt more like bend and break and then bend some more. But Micah changes the physics of your defensive calls. Suddenly, blitz packages get exotic. Sim pressures become lethal. You don't have to manufacture pressure with soft zone blitzes. You send Micah, and the whole pocket collapses. Now let's talk about the mental edge. This is something film rooms can't chart. Micah doesn't just play fast, he thinks faster. You ever watch him diagnose a play before the ball is even snapped? He'll be pointing out the motion man, calling out protections, literally shouting at his own teammates mid-read. You're getting a coach on the field. Not just a body. Not just a weapon. A tactician. You want to help a young defense grow up fast? Drop in a field general who's wired for chaos, who sees the game like a chessboard, and who doesn't wait for permission to take over a moment. Green Bay's defense has lacked that guy. They've had some ballers, yes. Some hitters. Some nice pieces. But a commander? Not since the days of Charles Woodson, if we're being honest. And speaking of Woodson, let's get into historical parallels, because Micah Parsons to the Packers is giving big-time Reggie White vibes. If you were around in the 90s, you remember the energy when Reggie signed with Green Bay. That was a turning point. Before Reggie, the Packers were fine, historic, nostalgic, kinda stuck in the past. After Reggie, they became a destination, a place where elite players wanted to come, where Super Bowl dreams turned into reality. You bring in Micah now? You're creating that moment for a new generation. Because let's be real, players talk. Locker room texts, off-season workouts, Pro Bowl connections. Word travels. You land Parsons? The whole league feels it. Future free agents look at Green Bay differently. Young talent thinks, yo, that's where the dogs are. You want to build a dynasty? You start with a statement. Micah is the statement. And let's hit this angle, Parsons as a mentor. Yes, he's still young. Yes, he's only a few years into the league. But guess what? He's already earned vet status. Not by age, but by impact. Now think about Lucas Van Ness. Think about Kingsley Enagbare. Think about the edge guys who are good, promising, but not there yet. You drop Micah into that room and suddenly they've got a walking masterclass next to them every day. You can't buy that kind of influence. You can't coach it in. Guys elevate when they see greatness up close. And you'd better believe Micah wouldn't let anyone slack off. He's intense. He's passionate. He demands excellence from himself, and that expectation spills out into the rest of the defense. If you're trying to develop a young core that plays with fire, Parsons is your spark. And now for something spicy, PR optics. This trade wouldn't just shake the football world, it would dominate the media cycle. ESPN, FS1, Twitter, podcasts. Packers fans would go nuclear. And guess what? So would the merchandise sales. Micah in green and gold? That's marketing gold. Jersey sales would skyrocket. National attention would double. Suddenly the Packers aren't just the team with the young quarterback, they're the team with the face of the future of defense. You think the NFL wouldn't love that storyline? Dallas might be America's team, but Green Bay is football's soul. Lambeau isn't a stadium, it's a cathedral. And now you've got one of the most electrifying players in the league front and center? It's a ratings dream. Even fans of other teams would tune in just to watch Micah go nuclear in snowstorms. Let's pivot to something strategic, post-season advantages. You know how you win playoff games? Not with flashy stats. Not with cute gadget plays. You win by wrecking timing. And guess what Micah Parsons does better than anyone? He wrecks timing. Want to mess up the 49ers' quick pass rhythm? Send Parsons screaming off the edge. Want to take Jalen Hurts out of his RPO comfort zone? Spy him with Micah. Want to confuse Jared Goff into throwing one of those, wait, who was that to? Picks. Let Micah shift the protection pre-snap, then loop through the A-gap untouched. Playoff games come down to a few possessions. One turnover. One game-changing sack. One pressure that forces the ball out a second too early. Micah gives you that play. He is that moment. And don't sleep on locker room cohesion. You might think adding a megastar would disrupt chemistry. But in this case, it would unite the team. Because Green Bay's defense is close. There's camaraderie there. These guys are young, scrappy, and learning together. What they need is someone who can turn their potential into execution. Micah walks in and that defense immediately becomes tight. More intense in meetings. More locked in during walkthroughs. More competitive in practice. Culture is contagious. And Micah carries it in his bloodstream. Here's a fun one, cold weather advantage. You know who thrives in the cold? Physical, high-motor defenders. Guys who don't need pristine turf or dome lighting to get going. Micah is built for the elements. He's from Pennsylvania. He's played in the muck. He doesn't need ideal conditions. He is the storm. Put him in Lambeau in January? He's not just unaffected, he's amplified. While other players shrink, Parsons grows. That's the kind of guy you want wearing your colors when the temperature drops and the game gets nasty. Let's take it even further, legacy conversations. Micah's already on a Hall of Fame trajectory. But what if his Canton speech came with a Green Bay logo on the highlight reel? That changes everything. That puts him in the conversation with the legends. Reggie White, Ray Nitschke, Willie Davis. Guys who didn't just play for the Packers, they defined what it meant to wear that G. If Micah wants to leave a legacy bigger than Dallas hype, Green Bay is that opportunity. And finally, let's get real. The time is now. Every team talks about the window. Some say they're rebuilding. Some say they're retooling. But if the Packers really believe Jordan Love is the guy, and early signs suggest they do, then this is the window. You don't wait 2 years to start adding pieces. You don't say, let's see how 2025 goes. You strike while the core is still cheap. By the time Love's extension hits, it's too late. You won't have the same flexibility. The cap gets tight. The pieces move. The margin for error shrinks. Green Bay has been cautious long enough. The league isn't waiting. The NFC isn't slowing down. But you have a chance to redefine your identity, supercharge your defense, electrify your fan base, and create a core that could dominate for years. And hey, comment below, what would you give up for Micah? Is this the move that finally takes Green Bay back to the Super Bowl?